Most people will never know what is truly holding them back. They'll spend their entire lives chasing success, healing, spirituality, love, and freedom, but never break through, never fully step into their power. Why? Because something else is running the show. Something ancient, intelligent, invisible. Something that doesn't want you to awaken. And I'm not talking about some external force from a horror movie. I'm talking about demonic energies that live within energies that have embedded themselves in your psyche, in your emotional body, in your energetic field. These aren't cartoonish devils with horns. These are subtle, seductive, and deeply manipulative forces that thrive in the blind spots of your awareness. And until you name them, expose them, and evict them, they will keep draining your vitality, distorting your perception, and blocking your access to your true power. These 7 demonic energies are not metaphors. They are spiritual parasites. They are real. And if you're ready to go deep, if you're ready to confront what most people spend lifetimes avoiding, then I'm going to walk with you through each one. But this is not just a list. This is an initiation. Because once you see these energies for what they truly are, you can no longer go back to sleep. The first of the 7 is self-doubt. It seems harmless, even familiar. We all have moments of uncertainty, right? But this is not casual insecurity. This is an entity, a frequency that wraps itself around your decisions, your voice, your creativity. It questions everything you know in your bones. It whispers things like, "Who do you think you are? You're not ready, you're not enough." And the problem is, it doesn't sound like a foreign voice. It sounds like you. That's what makes it so dangerous. Because when self-doubt speaks in your tone, in your rhythm, in your inner dialogue, you believe it. You internalize it. You don't even realize you're being possessed. And this energy thrives in spiritual circles. It masks itself as humility, as carefulness, as just being realistic. But its real purpose is to keep you small, to keep you silent. Because if you ever fully stepped into your knowing, your voice would shake worlds. It would break generational patterns. It would activate others. So ask yourself right now, whose voice of doubt have I mistaken for my own? The second demonic energy is shame. Shame is not guilt. Guilt says, "I did something wrong." Shame says, "I am wrong." It is identity-level poison. And it is one of the most powerful tools used by forces that feed on spiritual disconnection. Shame disconnects you from your body, from your intuition, from your soul. It makes you hide. It makes you shrink. It convinces you that your truth is a threat, that your past disqualifies you from power, that your sexuality, your rage, your grief, your story make you unworthy of love or leadership. Shame is the keeper of masks. It forces you to perform, to pretend, to polish yourself for acceptance. But here's the truth. Demons love shame because it keeps your light inverted. It turns your fire inward instead of outward. It keeps you obsessed with fixing yourself instead of freeing yourself. And the only antidote is radical self-exposure, radical vulnerability. The courage to say, "This is who I am, and I am still sacred." The third energy is spiritual bypassing. Now this one is extra tricky because it wears white robes. It speaks in affirmations. It uses all the right language. Light, love, oneness, positivity. But it's a mask, a distraction, a denial of pain disguised as enlightenment. This demonic frequency wants you to escape your humanity. It wants you to float above your trauma, your shadow, your grief, because as long as you're avoiding the underworld of your being, you're not really free. You're just well-behaved. And here's the hard truth. You cannot transcend what you haven't faced. You cannot skip the descent and expect to rise. True power comes from integration, not avoidance. And if your spirituality doesn't allow room for anger, grief, and mess, it's not spirituality. It's performance. So ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding in the name of peace? The fourth demonic energy is comparison. This one is an assassin of purpose. It creeps in silently, making you believe that your journey is behind, that someone else is more awakened, more successful, more worthy. It convinces you that your timing is off, your progress too slow. And suddenly, you're not living your life, you're performing for a scoreboard that doesn't even exist. Comparison is a distraction spell. It pulls your eyes off your own path and puts them on someone else's. And here's the secret. When you're looking at someone else's power, you're not in your own. You're giving your energy away. You're leaking your frequency. And that's exactly what this energy wants. Because the more fragmented your focus, the more disempowered you become. But here's the truth. No one's path is linear. No one's timing is wrong. And no one can do what you came here to do. So stop watching others like they're the show. You are the show. You are the storm and the stillness. The question is, are you ready to reclaim your gaze? These first four demonic energies, self-doubt, shame, spiritual bypassing, and comparison, are not just individual roadblocks. They are part of a system, a network of distortion that feeds on your forgetfulness. The more you forget who you are, the more they grow. But the moment you remember, even for a second, their grip begins to loosen, because none of these energies can survive the full presence of your soul. They thrive in absence, in distraction, in avoidance. But when you turn and face them not with fear, but with fire, they begin to dissolve. They can't live in your light. They can only live in your silence. But we are not done. There are three more demonic forces, more insidious, more ancient, more seductive than the ones we've just exposed. And if you're still with me, it means you're ready to go deeper than most will ever dare.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
If the first four energies we uncovered are the foot soldiers of spiritual suppression, the next three are the warlords. Older, deeper, and far more cunning. They don't just block your power, they redirect it. They siphon your soul force into illusions, traps, and false purposes. These are the energies that don't just keep you asleep, they make you think you've awakened while secretly feeding off your energy. And that's the most dangerous kind of imprisonment, the one you don't know you're in. The fifth demonic energy is control. On the surface, control looks like strength. It looks like discipline, order, leadership. But underneath it is a deep, festering fear of chaos, fear of the unknown, fear of vulnerability. Control is not the same as sovereignty. Sovereignty is rooted in trust. Control is rooted in trauma. It's the energetic response to past pain, betrayal, instability. And the demonic form of control isn't just about managing your outer world, it's about suppressing your inner world. It tells you that feeling too deeply is dangerous. That uncertainty is a threat. That surrender is weakness. And so you build walls, rituals, rules. You try to master the mystery instead of merging with it. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control life, the more you separate from its true flow. And as you tighten your grip, your soul becomes strangled. You stop listening to your intuition. You stop taking risks. You stop following the wild, sacred impulses that lead to quantum leaps. Instead, you stay in the realm of the predictable, and that's where your destiny dies. Because your true path is not a straight line. It's a spiral, a storm, a song. So ask yourself, where am I choosing safety over truth? Where am I controlling instead of trusting? The sixth demonic energy is projection. This one is so stealthy, so embedded in human behavior, that most people don't even realize when they're doing it. Projection is when you unconsciously place your own unresolved emotions, shadows, or fears onto someone else or the external world. It's a defense mechanism, an ancient one, but in its demonic form, it becomes a weapon that turns your own mind against you. It keeps you locked in a loop of blame, resentment, and separation. You see others as the enemy. You see mirrors as threats. You create false villains in your story so that you never have to face the one truth you've been avoiding. You are the common denominator in your experience. And here's the terrifying beauty of projection. Every time you believe someone else is the problem, you give your power away. You give your energy to conflict instead of healing. You give your attention to illusion instead of truth. and the demonic energy grows. It thrives on division. It loves when you're at war with your reflection. But here's the medicine: radical ownership. The willingness to ask, what is this showing me about me? That question alone can collapse entire illusions. It can burn through lifetimes of distortion. Because once you stop projecting, you start seeing. And when you truly see, you cannot be manipulated anymore. And that brings us to the seventh and most dangerous demonic energy of all: false identity. This is not just an energy, it is a complete architecture. A mask built so masterfully, so convincingly, that you believe it's your face. This demonic force doesn't just block your power, it replaces it. It creates a version of you that is acceptable, likable, successful, but not real. And the tragedy is, most people spend their entire lives perfecting this false version of themselves. They build careers from it, relationships, reputations. They even seek spiritual awakening from within it. But it's all a simulation, a performance, a beautifully crafted prison. And what's worse, it works. People applaud it, the world rewards it, but deep down something aches. Something feels off, because the soul knows. It always knows. And the longer you live as the false self, the more disconnected you become from your true essence. Your gifts get distorted. Your purpose gets rerouted. Your power gets diluted, and eventually you forget. You forget who you really are. And that forgetfulness is the demon's triumph. So how do you break it? How do you tear down a mask you've worn for decades, maybe lifetimes? You begin by disappointing the world. You begin by saying no to roles that no longer fit. You stop performing and start revealing. You let yourself be raw, be contradictory, be real. You let the mask crack, and when it does, your soul begins to shine through. And suddenly, the false identity becomes too heavy to carry. Not because someone told you to drop it, but because it no longer feels like home. And when that happens, when you finally come home to yourself, you'll realize something extraordinary. Your true power was never missing. It was just buried, hidden beneath the layers of who you thought you had to be. These three demonic energies: control, projection, and false identity, are the final guardians at the gate of your awakening. They are not easy to face. They demand everything. But they are also the final illusions. Once you see through them, you begin to live from a place most people never touch. You begin to create not from fear, but from frequency. You speak with the authority of your soul. You walk into rooms and shift the energy without saying a word. You become a force not because you're trying to be powerful, but because you've released everything that was blocking your natural power from flowing. And that's what this is really about. Not becoming something greater, but removing everything that made you forget you already were. Now that we've exposed the 7 demonic energies, those ancient, insidious forces that hijack your power, distort your truth, and keep you from your divine path, the real work begins. Because awareness is not enough. Seeing the prison doesn't free you from it. You have to break the contract. And yes, you've made contracts, energetic agreements, some conscious, most unconscious. You've said yes to fear, to silence, to masks, to performance. You've accepted the terms of suppression. You've allowed the world to define who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible for you. But now, something deeper is stirring. You wouldn't still be here, listening, if your soul wasn't ready to reclaim itself. And to do that, you must go to the root, not just healing symptoms, but dissolving the source. Let's start with this. Every demonic energy operates on one principal: separation. Separation from self, from source, from others, from the present moment. When you feel separate, you become vulnerable. You seek external validation. You chase approval. You fear rejection. You live in survival mode. And in that state, you're easy to manipulate. Your power is dormant. Your light is dim. So the first step in burning the contract is returning to unity consciousness. This doesn't mean becoming one in a fluffy, abstract way. It means remembering that you are not broken. You are not incomplete. You are not lacking. You are a fractal of infinite intelligence. You are a living expression of divine consciousness, and any voice, belief, or energy that tells you otherwise is not truth, it's programming. But how do we burn something that lives inside us? You don't fight it, you face it, you sit with it, you name it, and you call its bluff. These demonic energies are like parasites. They have no power of their own. They feed on your energy. They survive only through deception. The moment you stop feeding them with fear, shame, and avoidance, they starve. They begin to unravel. So your job is not to destroy yourself in the name of healing. Your job is to witness yourself so deeply that no distortion can survive the light of your gaze. Let's go deeper. Burning the contract means confronting the part of you that benefits from the bondage. Because here's the hard truth. Every mask, every illusion, you kept it for a reason. It protected you. It helped you survive. It gave you something. Maybe it gave you a sense of control. Maybe it helped you avoid rejection. Maybe it kept you from having to risk your full power. And until you acknowledge that, you can't let it go. So instead of judging these old parts, thank them, honor them. Say, I see you. I know why you were here, but I don't need you anymore. And in that moment of reverent release, the contract begins to burn. One of the most powerful ways to reclaim your energy is through radical embodiment. These demonic energies thrive in the mental realm, in thoughts, loops, stories. But your body holds the truth. Your body doesn't lie. That's why so many bypass their body on the spiritual path. It's too honest. But if you want to truly reclaim your soul, you must return to the temple of your flesh. You must breathe into the places you've abandoned. You must feel what you've been afraid to feel. You must move in ways that make your shame shake and your joy rise. Because when you come back to your breath, you begin to collect yourself. All those scattered fragments of power, of memory, of magic, they start to return. You become whole. Burning the contract also means breaking allegiance with the collective dream of fear. We live in a world that is addicted to fear. It's the currency of control, the background frequency of modern life. And every time you choose to act from fear, to silence yourself, to conform, to shrink, you are renewing the contract. But every time you choose love, truth, presence, you are rewriting your destiny. You are declaring, not with words but with being, that you are no longer available for manipulation, that you are no longer a host for demonic energy, that you are a sovereign soul untouchable by illusion. But be warned, when you begin to reclaim your power, you will trigger every system built on your submission. People will resist. Energies will push back. Old fears will resurface. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you're finally doing it right. The darkness doesn't fight what it already owns. It only fights what it's losing. So if things get loud, chaotic, or uncertain, good, it means you're breaking free. Keep going. And here's the final piece. You must forgive yourself for forgetting who you were. This is not about shame. This is not about blaming yourself for being trapped. This is about compassion, about realizing that you were doing the best you could with the awareness you had. You were surviving. You were learning. And now, you are remembering, and remembrance is resurrection. Every time you remember your truth, you resurrect a part of yourself that was buried. Every time you speak your truth, you reclaim territory in your soul. And every time you embody your truth, you become unshakable. So I ask you now, in this moment, are you willing to let your old self die so your true self can rise? Are you ready to stop negotiating with fear and start living as the authority of your own soul? Because that is what it means to burn the contract, to reclaim every piece of yourself. To walk not as someone seeking power, but as someone who is power, finally remembered. Now that the contracts are burned, the illusions exposed, and the demonic energies stripped of their disguises, a new era begins, not outside of you, but within. This is the moment most never reach, the moment where you are no longer becoming, you simply are. Not perfect, not finished, not floating in some blissful detachment, but deeply, dangerously alive. You've stopped chasing power because you realize your existence is power. You've stopped seeking truth because you become it. This is the rise of the remembered. And when you arrive here, you no longer ask the world for permission to exist. You radiate and the world adjusts. But what does it mean to live as a fully awakened force? It doesn't mean you walk around glowing or spouting spiritual cliches. It means you walk with a quiet authority. You move with intention. You speak from soul. You know who you are, even when no one else does. You're no longer ruled by the need to be liked, understood, or accepted. You're ruled by alignment. And alignment doesn't always make sense to the world. It's not logical. It's truthful. And truth often looks like madness to those still living in lies. Living as a remembered being means you become a mirror. People will either awaken in your presence or run from it. You'll trigger, inspire, disrupt, and heal sometimes all at once. Because your frequency is no longer edited to make others comfortable. It's raw, it's real, and it's felt. You don't have to prove your awakening. You embody it. Your silence carries more weight than most people's noise. Your gaze breaks spells. Your presence changes rooms. And yet you remain humble. Not because you're playing small, but because you know the power flowing through you is not yours to hoard. It's yours to steward. A fully awakened force lives in devotion. Not to dogma, not to image, but to truth. You become a servant of the sacred. You listen to your inner guidance even when it costs you something. You choose integrity over image. You choose evolution over comfort. You choose reality over fantasy. This path is not always easy. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's brutal. But it's real. And that realness becomes your spiritual wealth. You stop chasing peak experiences because you realize your ordinary moments are already miraculous when lived in full presence. You also stop waiting for the right time, the right sign, the right level of worthiness. You understand that action is not the opposite of surrender, it's the expression of it. You move not because you're trying to force life, but because you're in flow with it. You're co-creating with something bigger, and your intuition becomes your compass. It won't always make sense, but it will always make truth. And your relationships change. You no longer bond through wounds. You no longer tolerate shallow connections, energy leaks, or spiritual performance. You call in reflections of your frequency, people who challenge you, nourish you, mirror your depth. You build sacred alliances, not codependent cages, and you stop begging for love. You become it. You become the kind of presence that awakens others just by existing. And that is the most radical act of service you can offer this world, to be so fully yourself that others remember who they are in your presence. But perhaps the most vital shift of all is this. You stop fearing death, not just the physical kind, but the little deaths of identity, ego, and control. You've died so many times on this path already. You've let go of who you thought you were, who you were taught to be, who you pretended to be. And because of that, you are free. Free to live fully. Free to create boldly. Free to love without armor. Free to serve without attachment. Free to be a living embodiment of what it means to remember. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped forgetting? If you stopped dimming? If you stopped apologizing for your magic, your power, your truth? Because that's what the world is waiting for, not another guru, not another trend, not another escape, but you. Fully remembered. Fully alive. Fully here. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are the storm and the silence, the fire and the stillness. You are the answer you've been seeking. And now that you know, it's time to live like it. This is your moment. You are the remembered, and the world has never needed you more.